Hey there, folks. This is Faith from Mountain Mama Massage. We offer deep tissue, prenatal, and postpartum massage for all genders and generations in Boulder and Lafayette, Colorado. We also have an online program, Partner Massage Essentials for Pregnancy, where you can learn to massage your partner at home during pregnancy. Today in the audio blog, we're in part 2 in your What to Expect in the First Week After Birth series. Today is about postpartum nourishment for baby and you, feeding yourself and your baby after birth. Now, in part 1 of this series, we covered how to rest better with your baby, strategies for getting rest, even if not much sleep, in the first week after welcoming your baby home. Today, let's talk about what to expect when it comes time to feed yourself postpartum and feeding your baby postpartum. We'll get started with feeding your baby. While feeding your newborn is recommended to be quote unquote on demand, which means anytime that they give you signals, you'll likely feed your baby at least every 3 hours from breast or bottle. Early breastfeeding takes around 34 hours a week, which is nearly equivalent to a full-time job, and this feeding baby happens around the clock. It's normal for babies to lose weight immediately after birth and then slowly regain their birth weight by around 2 weeks postpartum. During this time, most pediatricians recommend waking a baby every 3 hours to feed. So even if you're feeding on demand and they're not giving you cues or they're sleeping, a lot of pediatricians recommend that you set an alarm and wake them until they're back at their birth weight. Talk to your pediatrician about what they recommend. Understanding this time commitment, this 34 hours a week or so, understanding this time commitment helps adjust your expectations about what else you can accomplish while caring for a newborn. In my time as a postpartum doula, I've learned that fed is best. Not breast is best, not bottle is best, just fed is best. While chest feeding or breastfeeding is often described as quote unquote natural, that doesn't mean that it's easy. Navigating breastfeeding, bottle feeding, or combining approaches often benefits from support. So the person who supports you in this, an international board-certified lactation consultant, or an IBCLC, offers the highest level of support for babies' mouths and parents' breasts. If you give birth at a birth center or hospital, a nurse or IBCLC will likely help you start with early breastfeeding. And if you're at home, your midwife will support you and baby finding that first latch. That's what it's called when baby's mouth comes to the breast. But support doesn't stop there. Many IBCLCs offer prenatal visits from while you are still pregnant and classes about feeding options. And many more parents seek support in the first weeks and months with all kinds of baby feeding questions, breastfeeding, bottle feeding, or both. The key is finding someone who supports your goals, whether breastfeeding, bottle feeding, or a combination. If someone isn't supportive, try someone new. While IBCLCs have the highest training level available about new parents breastfeeding, you'll also find lactation consultants with certifications or other community support groups for feeding babies. In the blog, and I'll try to link it below here where you're listening on YouTube, a great list of IBCLCs, lactation consultants, or feeding groups on our Mountain Mama Massage resource page. And I'm going to give you some more options. During pregnancy, I really recommend you get contact information for at least one IBCLC, ideally one who does house calls during these first days, and locate local in-person or online support groups for wherever you are. Check if your insurance covers these services through the Lactation Network, linked here, or your insurance database. Most insurance covers breast pumps, So consider using this benefit to purchase one during your third trimester, even if you plan to exclusively breastfeed or chest feed. You'll find that many of the postpartum support groups focused on breastfeeding and chest feeding, pumping, and bottle feeding are free or donation based. Okay, now that baby is fed, let's get to feeding postpartum parents. I think that after reading that last section on what it takes to feed your newborn, you can understand why, as a postpartum doula, I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of if the parents are caring for the baby, then who's caring for the parents? Think about these questions. Who usually prepares food in your home? If you need 3 nourishing meals and 3 snacks daily, who will handle grocery shopping, meal prep, and cooking? If the birthing parent was also the primary chef in the past, plan for someone else to handle most of the cooking for at least the first 2 weeks. Creative options for this include partner in visiting family cooking, meal trains organized by friends, neighbors, churches, communities, food delivery services, pre-cooking and freezing meals, ordering from postpartum specific postpartum meal delivery services, hiring a chef or postpartum doula to cook in your home, ordering groceries online, either for pickup or delivery, sharing a grocery list with local family members. For me, my mom would check our shared grocery list when she went shopping, and if she was coming by that day, bring over groceries, which was tremendously helpful after my son was born. As a longtime postpartum doula who loved cooking for families, I'm semi-retired from that work. Now I'm working on creating a recipe booklet of favorite postpartum meals to share, and I'll be sure to post it here once I've created it. Ideally, have several meals pre-made in the refrigerator or freezer for easy reheating so that when hunger strikes postpartum, you won't have to start from scratch with grocery shopping and cooking. Additionally, during pregnancy, try to master some quick, nutritious meals like scrambled eggs that can be prepared in 5 minutes or less. In the first blog, we talked about sleep and how you are waking up. At the beginning of this blog, we talked about how you're waking up to feed baby every few hours. So being awake at night often leads to carb cravings and sometimes an upset stomach. It's related to cortisol and digestion. So when cooking for postpartum families, I always include easy to grab, carb-heavy foods that settle the stomach. Things like roasted sweet potato wedges, Indian khichdi, which is an Ayurvedic postpartum food. I'll try to link to that as well. Simple chicken or egg dishes, and even just plain noodles. Many resources exist for postpartum nutrition. While some cultures have traditions around specific postpartum foods, there are no universal rules. If you're interested, you can explore books like The First 40 Days or Natural Health After Birth, or follow social media accounts focusing on postpartum nutrition. If you do that, just remember that the internet isn't always real life. So no comparing what you can do with what someone else may be doing postpartum. Water is essential hydration postpartum. You'll need plenty of water postpartum, about 120 to 130 ounces daily. A gallon is 128 ounces, so I am suggesting close to a gallon of water every day. If it's helpful, you can use a gallon jug to track your intake. Fill it in the morning and pour from that jar until you know you've had enough. I even had one client who kept her Camelback hung by her bed for easy drinking while lying down, so feel free to get creative about your hydration. Definitely keep large water bottles by your bed, nursing chair, and couch. And if you're not the breastfeeding or pumping parent, bring water to the feeding parent every time they sit down with baby. Somehow, the moment someone settles comfortably with a baby to feed, they become absolutely parched. Bonus points if you bring a snack too. When I tried to look up why this happens during my own postpartum, it seemed to have to do with estrogen, but I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure about that. You'll be amazed at how supported a partner feels when you remember to bring water every time they sit down with the baby. This is one of the easiest ways to become a postpartum hero, is just show up, bring water, bring a snack every time they sit down. It will feel new to your partner every time you do it. The reason we need this is that early postpartum, our body is sweating, urinating, potentially lactating, all processes that take water from the body. Replenishing water helps with all these processes, and it's crucial for brain function and mental health. So today we've covered ways to be prepared for feeding your baby and yourself the first week after birth, with what to expect from feeding a baby the first week, right? Around 40 hours a week to feed that baby. We talked about strategies to nourish parents and caregivers with food in the first week, and the importance of staying hydrated with nearly a gallon of water daily. If it sounds like the possibility of resting and staying well-fed during the first week postpartum is overwhelming and a lot for any family to take on, it is. But with your community's support, it is possible for this to be a magical time of bonding with your new baby and your growing family. Come with me to part 3 in this series to think more about how to harness the support of your community postpartum. We'll be talking about connection and support during the postpartum journey. Thanks for listening.